The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
Chapter number 20, which is titled The Circle Closes. This chapter was 22 pages long, and it was 2.02% of the book. So we're going to jump right into the first section, which is Tom. We get some insights into a dream that he's having, as all the past events that we just read about were going on with the last section, last chapter, all that long slog. So Tom was having an odd dream at that point. Luke, go ahead and start us off with that.
Yeah, so it's really odd because Tom, who is in 1985, he's at the Holiday Inn, is having this dream, seemingly right about the time that Henry Bowers is getting killed. Memories that we, like you mentioned, heard about last chapter from Henry Bowers' experience as a kid, a Morlock hole, and yeah, pretty weird. Like, why is he having these memories? Clearly, Pennywise is involved, and it almost, to me, seems like as soon as Bowers was killed, Pennywise had to transfer that knowledge over and just kind of take control of Tom now. I think he knew about Tom, was maybe going to do something with Tom, but now that Bowers is completely out and Pennywise knows that, he has to kind of upload a bit of this information directly into Tom so that he has it as he becomes more dangerous in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the exact same note I had. To kind of show Tom the way, kind of, and I like even Tom kind of have almost a lucid dream of, I'm standing behind my father, holding the shiny object, but that's not my dad. My dad died, well, committed suicide, but holding the shiny object. And then as you're reading this, you're like, huh? And they're like, wait, I just read this. Wait a second. Okay, he's in Henry's memories. And then they kind of play into it of Tom's like walking down Henry, they need a whooping, and like the parentheses style thought process of bouncing back and forth between Henry and Tom. I liked the play of that. When I read this chapter, I was like, oh, I think Luke's going to get a kick out of this section. Like, as soon as I started listening to him, like, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. And it's an interesting dynamic because he definitely needs a new foil for our heroes now that Henry's out of the way. Melissa, what's your first thought on this section?
So I agree with all of you. I think this is definitely Pennywise, like, calling up from the miners, right? Like, that's what he's doing. But the part that really stood out to me is the fact that Tom, in some part of him, starts kind of questioning, like, what's going on? And the voice says, it doesn't really matter who I am. All that matters is that I am going to see that everything turns out to your satisfaction, Tom. I want to see her take a whooping. I want to see them all take a whooping. They've crossed my path once too often. Now, follow the bouncing ball. I think it's really interesting that Pennywise knows that he doesn't even have to get Tom to buy in.
No, definitely. And unfortunately, he doesn't even need to lie to Tom about any of it. He's like, she's sleeping with her old friend, Bill Denbrough. And Tom's like, no. Yeah.
Oh, friends and neighbors.
Oh, friends and good neighbors. That line, I don't know what, but it's just the way the audiobook guy read it. But it's just so creepy hearing that. Oh, good friends. Oh, good neighbors. And yeah, it's just very creepy. And yeah, as Melissa pointed out, he does not need convincing. He's already turned to 11. He's almost getting put to 12.
He just needs an excuse or a point in the right direction.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's what Pennywise is doing. He's just pointing him in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've been chatting about that too, is like, none of these people are really doing anything very differently than what is in their heart for the most part. It's just ratcheting it up and forcing it into action.
Well, and Pennywise is using what's in the heart,
right,
in their hearts for their own, for his own gain. Like, if they're going to do it anyway, he needs them to do it at a certain time, at a certain place to benefit Pennywise.
Yep.
Definitely. So anything else on the Tom section you want to cover? Nope. Okay. It was a quick section. Next section is Audra. So kind of the similar instances. We get into Audra's dream where
and how long it took them. He needed to give us information about how Henry and his gang trekked through the tunnels. But my guess is he didn't want to spend a whole nother chapter of them just wandering through the tunnels.
With narrator watching it, same as we've
Right.
been doing.
Yes. This was brilliant because it drives the 1985 story while still giving us much needed quick glimpses into what happened in the tunnels in 1958. That was so smart.
Mm-hmm. And in that one, the one line that stood out to me, she's like, the wooden door, it looks smaller than any door that's normal. It's only about 3 feet, and how anybody could get through that. It just reminded me of like those old school fairy tales. You don't go through the small door. The small door is always the worst option. Bad things are behind the small doors. And it plays up that Mother Goose and Grimm kind of fairy tales of play on it. Luke, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of the overall similar thought to the first section. This is the other side of the coin, where instead of Henry's memories being implanted into Tom, we have Bev's memories being implanted into Audra. And I mean, she also kind of is confused about it because she knows those aren't her memories. And it's like you were saying, Melissa, it's a brilliant way of Stephen King to get us more insight into the tunnels here. But I still want more. Like, I just want to see it at this point. Like, that's where I'm at. It's like, let's go. Can we just go? Can we just go, please? Let's stop talking about going and just go, please. But
and that's gonna take care of the going.
Yeah, let's and that will take care of it, and we'll be there. So again, this feels a little bit like a tease, but it is a really interesting thing that's going on here. And I like that the character is confused by it and actively is worried about what's going on.
Yeah, and so she makes a phone call to Bill after being very upset, and she finds out that he just got a call a few minutes beforehand. Now he's not illusions Matt, because she jumps to the conclusion of, oh, he's with another woman. It's a safe bet, but she played it up wrong, but she was correct about it. I guess it's womanly instinct, or just, I don't know, conclusion Matt.
Oh yeah, The guy made $1 million. But yeah, and it is funny that I see what you're saying about, yes, she's correct, but she's correct for the wrong reason. Like, because she calls, as we find out a little bit, right after all of that happened, and he was actually going to his buddy's room for a completely different reason. Like, it's ironic, I believe, would be the proper way of saying it. And it's just kind of funny for funny's sake.
Yeah. So, Melissa, what's your next thought on this?
Dude, the freaking clown was in the room.
Well, I read the note. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it was, hold on. What does it say? Oh, sorry. It was in the TV screen. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask if I misread, if I missed it somewhere.
I misread it, but the clown was still there. Like,
yes, and then technically the creature was in the room after she made it out.
Yes,
because the nails were coming under the door towards her feet.
Blood from the clown in the screen was sizzling against the screen. So, Tom got nice Pennywise.
Yeah, because I remember when I first read this, because we've heard about the turtle on the other side. I was first thinking, okay, maybe this is the other side trying to encourage Audra to help and show her the Beverly mindset, like Pennywise is showing the Tom until Pennywise doing it.
I'm completely with you though. As I was getting into it, it's like, oh, yep, here's the other side of that coin. Everything we've seen is always yinned and then yanged. Like, we see that so many times, and this just felt like, oh, well, that's a perfect parallel, perfect foil on the previous section. And then nope. Absolutely not.
Nope.
Exactly. And now my last thought on this section is, I'll kind of let Melissa go with yours first. Sorry.
So the clown and the thing creeping out of her room was not the worst thing that happened to her. No, because Tom meets Audra. Crap.
Have you met Tom?
Yeah.
That's not gonna be good for business. That's not gonna be good for anybody.
Nope. Not good. Not good.
For Tom.
Yeah. So kind of going along with that, Pennywise now has Tom as a new Henry and kind of has Audra as a new Beverly. Audra is a strong female character, but also will be looked upon unjustly as a damsel in distress, and which is what Pennywise has tried to use Beverly as, once or twice in that aspect. So he now has Audra as a replacement if needed. He has, again, the yin and the yang of I'm replacing building blocks, or if I need a new block to So, going on, if nobody else has anything else for the Audra section, we're going to move to section 3 in Eddie's room. Basically, this is when Bill and Beverly make it to Eddie's room and they start discussing ways to, what needs to be done, how to go about handling the situation. This is a quick, I thought this was a quicker one. It's not too long, just a handful of pages. But I'll take the first note on this. Henry continuing to look young, even in death, compared to the rest of them. Like Beverly says, she saw Henry laying there and he looked young, like really young. And then she looked over at Eddie with his broken arm and he looked old, like ragged and decrepit age. I think even continuing from when we last saw him with Mike, he kept looking and appearing younger as Pennywise took more control over him. Luke, what's your first?
Just missed that call from Audra, right? It literally is talking about right when Bill and Beverly start walking out of the room, and they get dressed first. That's worth mentioning. And then the phone starts kind of ringing, and Bev goes, "Bill, was that your phone?" And he goes, "Could have been." He said, "One of the others calling, maybe." He punched the up button, and so pretty confident that was literally Audra's phone call from the section before. Just missed it.
Just outside.
Just a bit outside. The foul tip.
Bob Euchre. All right. And go ahead. Actually, your next note works well coming in once we get into the room and everything, too.
So we get in the room and they start kind of discussing how, you would think it'd be a pretty easy thing to prove of, Eddie was attacked in his room and self-defense killed this guy. But then we find out that Pennywise is also hiding the evidence of the switchblade. Because he basically talks about how the switchblade went flying underneath the TV and it's not there.
Yeah, and he has the line of, "They'll arrest me for murder, or they'll arrest all of us, or they'll detain us, or something. Then there'll be an accident, one of the special accidents that only happen in Derry. Maybe they'll stick us in jail, and deputy sheriff will go berserk and shoot us all. Maybe we'll all die of I can't say that word, but or decide to hang ourselves in our cells." And Eddie's not wrong, at least from their perspective, not wrong, So, Melissa, I see you had a note kind of.
So I'm just curious. I know I could probably put this in the question section, but I don't want to. I want to put it here. Do you think it was a good idea to not call the police, or do you think they should have called the police? I'm just curious what your opinions were at this point.
In this section, do we get the call from the chief, or do we get the call to the library? Yeah, then
this section.
Okay, then yes. After the talk with the library, absolutely, it's the right call not to let the police know, because now this is kind of a note I have for the next part, but it's totally understandable. Chief Rademacher being suspicious of Beverly calling the library at 3:30 in the morning. Any good police work would tell you, okay, why is this person calling this library where this guy just...
Yeah.
No, I just had it tied into another part of the next section where she decides it was a good idea not to call. But I think, it's the best idea from all the evidence. And even as Lucan mentioned, the knife's gone. There's no proof of them, not being the ones to kill or attack Mike, not being the ones to purposely have killed Henry. Who's to say they didn't break Henry out themselves for this ritualistic, assault on Henry, kind of thing, because the way things work in Derry, stuff gets turned around. So I personally think, it's a smart move not to call him.
Luke?
Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and read just the quotes from the phone call, just as Beverly is talking to Chief Rademacher, and it says, "Hello, is Mr. Hanlon there? Who's this? Who are you?" She countered, "You're not Mr. Hanlon. I am Derry Chief of Police Andrew Rademacher. Mr. Hanlon is at the Derry Home Hospital right now. He was assaulted and badly wounded a short time ago. Now, who are you, please? I want your name." Then it comes down to how badly has he been hurt? "I want your name, please," Rademacher said briskly. And then it continues on. I'm afraid I can't tell you, not just yet. What do you know about this? Nothing. What makes you think I do? Jesus Christ. You just make a habit of calling a library every morning about 3:30? Is that it? Can the BS, lady. This is assault. And the way the guy looks, it could be murder by the time the sun comes up. I'll ask you again, who are you and how much do you know about this? He might die. You're not just saying that to scare me. He really might die. Please tell me. He's very badly hurt, and if that doesn't scare you, miss, it ought to. Now I want to know who you are and why. and then she hangs up. But yeah, it's a pretty suspicious phone call. Like, it's almost like calling to check in. Like, it sounds like someone's calling to check in if the person you left to die is actually dead. Like, and it's after the phone call. Absolutely don't go call the police. At least, I don't know. I think she could have done a lot better job on the phone. I get in shock a bit. It wasn't very good. Like, that was a pretty poor interaction.
But let's go back and let's be Eddie. Do you call the front desk? Hey, some random guy walked into my room and tried to attack me. Like,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, in this section, I think so. Yeah.
they would have gone to jail, or they would have been detained, and they would have been kept from what they had to do. I get it, but I just, part of me wonders if at what point, because at some point somebody's going to find the dead body in there. Is this why a couple of chapters ago, God, it probably was just the last chapter, but it was what section of the last chapter where it said that they would be fugitives or something?
I think that was section 4.
Yeah, I think it's more on the Mike side still. I think there's certainly questions. I don't think this is going to help anything when the bellhop goes and checks them, or the maid service goes up to the room. But
one actually has Eddie's name attached to it. The rest of them, they were all visual. Visually, they may be wanted, but this one actually has a name attached to a murder to where.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think this is probably the more like, because I honestly can't remember which one if they actually even get in trouble or whatever, but how it all plays out, but if what they get in trouble for. But going along in the middle of that quote rundown, Beverly does have a line of, and for a moment of the skittering, craven little girl inside of her, the one that had been bred by her father and cared for by her husband, almost answered, "I'm Beverly Marsh at the Dairy Townhouse. Please send Mr. Null over. There's a dead man here who's still half a boy, and we're all very frightened." It's her having to conquer her natural or ingrained in her submissive tendencies, because she almost did, blurt it out just on, you're asked a question by an adult male and you answer and everything. And you could tell she's almost reverting back a little bit to the childhood. That's what I'm saying, to her past tendencies of.
I don't know if it's necessarily reverting to come fix this because it's a problem. But
and the only reason I call that out is because she says the one that had been bred by her father and cared for by her husband. So because it specifically says that, that's the only reason why I'm kind of pointing out the submissive tendencies thing on that. Had not said that, I would absolutely agree with you. Or just that natural instinct to tell the truth and go from there.
Okay.
So. All right, moving on to the next section.
One last.
Go ahead.
They just, as you guys were talking about the how they would end up having an accident. Basically they would disappear and be detained and be in at this point. So I just wanted to point out, because we talked about that last section as well, or the last section of last chapter, and they're back at that point again of now they have to be invisible to the town, because the town will is only going to be able to be used by Pennywise to stop them. So they need to become ghosts. They need to become these invisible characters acting against Pennywise. So I just thought that was worth pointing out as well.
No, absolutely. Sorry, I missed your note on there.
Very good.
Yeah, very good point. So we're still in the next section. We're still in Eddie's room, but Ben and Richie join them. I really don't have much for this. So Melissa,
with the things Luke said, so I'm going to defer to him.
Okay.
So on the contrary to last section, where Beverly, I don't think really does a very good job on the phone, we have the man for the job, man of 1,000 voices. Richie Tozier comes in and kills this phone call. I love the way it's described of his reasons for being in the loser club. Like, this is the positive reason, and it's so voice, and he's even like faux jotting things down on a fake notepad. I love it. It's just like, that's the right way to call and get this information.
And spells out the last name.
Yep, sticks in with it, because clearly the guy was like looking to chit chat. Like, it was way more. Richie was trying to get off the phone, but it was still like, you can't drop the character.
Well, and you have to butter up the guy who's supposed to give you the information.
So well done.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. He's like, the last line. Okay, Mr. Kerpaskian. Yes, I got it. Kerpaskian. Right. Check Jewish. Is that it? Really? And like he's playing it up, but he's like, I'm done with you. Like he was trying to end the call, and the guy would just wanted to chit chat about it. And it's just, a funny way, because I was always taught when you're talking on the phone, you're trying, like, especially as a salesman or whatever, you have to smile while you're talking. Even if you're so pissed off at the person, you don't want to be talking to this person.
It comes
keep
through.
Keep a smile on your face because you can hear it. So
that's why we always frown on these podcasts.
Exactly.
But so another thing was when Bev is again similar conversation going on in her head from last section, because I think she goes into the bathroom, right, to kind of collect herself, and she does that. She's in there for, I think it's like a minute or so, and she's thinking through a whole lot of things, and she's thinking about the things that we were just talking about her thinking about, of making the choice to not call the police. And there's a line that says she was suddenly sure that rationality would kill them if they tried to use it now. So you can't think rational here. Like, doing the right thing by the book is only going to play into the hands of this entire system of Pennywise that they're going up against. And that really is kind of the final straw for her to be completely okay with not going to the police and not following through with, the authority line of things. And I just thought there's a really interesting way of stating that rationality would kill them. Like, you just kind of have to be a little bit insane to get this job done. And I think the kids even started showing a lot of instances where almost that insanity becomes a strength.
Well, and I think that's what they talked about less than 24 hours ago, but like 900 pages ago when they were at lunch.
Uh-huh.
And it was, you have to go on instinct.
Yep.
You can't use like thought and you can't like rationalize your way out of it. They said the exact same thing. Only now 15 hours have real world consequences if they try to think like an adult would. They have to think like kids. And it just keeps throwing them back into that.
So towards the very end of this section, there's a line, and it starts with Ben. He says, "Can I ask something?" Ben asked abruptly. Bill looked at him and grinned a little. "Anytime. You guys are still the best friends I ever had," Ben said. "No matter how this turns out, I just, wanted to tell you that." And then Richie follows up with, "I'm glad one of the last times that they might have a chance at a sentimental thing like this." So I appreciate that he took the chance to say that, because really,
And now one quick correction, Luke. That was
okay.
And wipes his eyes. He should have been the writer, Big Bill. So, but yeah.
And I originally read it that way, and as I was reading it out loud, I was like, either way. But
the way it reads is a little odd, but yeah, it's actually Ben saying that
he's glad he remembered them as well. So nice sentimental move. I am too. Good job.
All right, Melissa, you got a couple notes here.
So just really quick, first, they're down to only 5. We keep losing members, which means our circle keeps getting smaller, but 5's still like a magic power number. It's just not as powerful as 7. And at one point, Beverly points out that, right, because they decided, okay, we're going to have to go. Like, this is it. We got to head that way. So she's like, well, at least they won't be throwing rocks at us. Yeah, I'm really sorry, Sandra, and there's a guy coming for you. He may not throw rocks, but you're not being followed by a scary human.
Right. So interesting that I just remembered as you were saying that was in Tom's section where he's like, no, he's kind of fighting it or whatever at first. And he's like, oh, I'll go this afternoon, right? Or he's like, I'll go when I wake up. And Pennywise is like, no, you should go now because there won't be anybody around. And it's just like, yeah, I wonder if that's going through busier and there's people around that might thwart us, and especially with this police issue.
Who's going to find out what we did here? Who's like knows what's going to come after us next?
That time is of the essence kind of thing. Like, we're better off rushing into it right now than delaying and being taken out.
So we'll move on to section 5. It's still start driving towards the Barrens. Richie's driving, obviously, since Eddie's arm's broken. And he turns the radio on. And yeah, Luke, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, so a couple songs come on that seem like they're pretty well picked for Richie, and it talks about the Richie All Dead Band real quick. And then, Jesus Christ, boyo, it's Georgie Dembro's voice comes on. And it's just
So me just listen to this morning's graveyard shift guest DJ Georgie Denbrough. Tell him, Georgie. King being punny. I absolutely love Georgie being the graveyard shift DJ.
Yeah.
But and he comes up with the line of, "You sent me out there and it killed me. I thought it was in the cellar, Big Bill, but I thought it was in the cellar, but it was in the drain. It was in the drain and it killed me. You let it kill me, Big Bill. You let it." And imagine hearing that as, Bill, as that's the one, one of the major, that's been your major attack on it, because you've only had one interaction with it directly on your own, and it was actually you and Richie, even, because correct me if I'm wrong, it's never taken Bill on one-on-one. He's never had a solo encounter with Pennywise or it in any form.
No, even in the walking tours, he just found his bike.
Yeah.
And then they found the cards and Mike was right there, but that's potentially not even Pennywise. Yeah, no, he's never taken Bill on one-on-one.
And when he went to Neibold Street, Pennywise focused Bill. And then when he went earlier with Richie, he was with Richie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think so.
And so, like, it made me start thinking that, and especially with him getting a hold, I'll go into, or should go in this next section, but him getting a hold of Audra, he's scared of Bill more than any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling he's more scared than any of the others because he's had interactions with all the rest of them, but he's never one-on-one with Bill. And it's, kind of telling, because, and I think that's more of the power, because I've said this, I'm like, I still don't see, besides the natural charisma Bill has as a leader, that people just are drawn to follow him, but I haven't seen anything to kind of show me that. But seeing this now, like with this information of just that hitting me just this time, because this whole chapter, all of Pennywise's interactions have been Pennywise going after Bill. Because even if going with Tom, trying to use Tom, his main goal is to get Bill, get the guy that Audra's been sleeping with, get that, or not Audra, get off the head, the rest will fall, maybe mentality. But it's also to the point of, I think, Pennywise is legitimately scared of Bill, and I don't know why.
I completely agree with you. And right on top of that, exactly with what you were saying, he has to use something like a secondary piece like Audra to get to him. He has to use the others, or, he can't take him on one-on-one because Bill's not really afraid of anything, or whatever it is. Like, what somehow Pennywise doesn't seem to have the same power over Bill like everyone else has been affected by him. And it just goes to prove, your point there, that he has to rely on Tom taking Audra to even have a chance, is what it seems like.
And also, you just made me think of something. Bill's always kind of like, he rode with reckless abandon. He rode Silver, not caring if he died. Mm-hmm. So that's where he might not have the power.
Racing the devil, just kind of already doesn't care.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, go ahead with your note on this section here.
So mine was more atmosphere, if you will. The quote says, it's not really a quote, I paraphrased, setting up the visual for a movie adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And King does that so well without being like pages of flowery scenery.
Oh, yeah.
But that alone, you don't need to say they were scared. You don't need to tell us that it was 3:30 in the morning and it was dark. Like, that's all I need. Brown fog is so thick, it's drifting through the streets like cigarette smoke. I've got it. I know the picture. I know the mood. I can hear the background music.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. So we'll move on to the very last section of this chapter. It's in the Baron to the pumping station, and Benny's even like, dude, that was 27 years ago. But Ben's like, all right, let's
just
go.
Does it.
Just does it, and they find their way. On the way there, they find the door of the old hideout, the old the smoke hole and everything. And it was just, once they make it to the Morlock hole, it's kind of funny that Ben realizes, he's like, oh, somebody took the cap off, or the cap's already been off. Well, yeah, we took it off 27 years ago. Wait, no. Somebody's had to have come down and fixed this. And so it's kind of putting in that, mentality of, wait, there's probably already been somebody here recently. And then he goes on to say, since it rained, there's been someone here. And we learn later on who's been there. Melissa, if you'd like to take it.
It's the purse, man. That gets me every time I read it, because they get the purse and they open it up, and what fell out was so much Audra. Like, Bill knew that was Audra's purse the minute he looked at it, but it was just the sheer presence of her within her belongings. And to me, like, that's it, right? Like, that's what it's like when you're with somebody for so long, that you can recognize their presence simply from the belongings that are surrounding you. You know if your person has been there because you know their things so well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment that that's what Pennywise is trying to do, man. He's trying to break Bill.
And that's, yeah, I think so.
Really good play.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're getting to. Like, what I was kind of touching on is like that's the only thing that Pennywise might be able to do to get Bill thrown off, because he's seen Georgie kind of used against him with the portrait and with the all sorts of different things. But like Audra, that's a whole different level, and even everyone else is like this is a different level still of, because in their head they're probably not thinking, oh well, she probably followed you here. They're probably a little bit mind blown of like, how could he get her? Like, but how? It's not possible. And I don't know. That's just like when you're on the doorstep and you get this information. That's a pretty tough blow to deal with. And I love when Bill sees the purse, right? He sees the leather strap, and he already knows, but he's still. And we've seen this multiple times for characters, even though they know, they do everything they can to like justify it in their heads. And he's like, what are there 10 million purses like this? It can't be, even though he knows. And then sure enough, he picks it up and he's like, yeah, no, okay. Without a doubt, this, yep. Oh, and there's her California driver's license. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And he has this thought as he's climbing down the ladder with Eddie on his back. Her purse, dear God, how did her purse get here? Doesn't matter. But if you're there, God, and if you're taking requests, let her be all right. Don't let her suffer for what Bev and I did tonight, or for what I did one summer when I was a boy. And was it the clown? Was it Bob Gray who got her? If it was, I don't even know if God can help her. And so he's already kind of resolving himself in that one line to basically saying, he's already coming to grips with that, because he knows that it is using her against him, and in that case she won't survive.
Yeah, I think the other really big thing on this is they have
Right.
that comes out like they just this is the tip of the iceberg in my opinion. It's one thing for Audra to be down there, like when Bev realizes, oh, and Tom's here too. Like that, it's going to be like a whole different camel with a broken back.
Mm-hmm.
Shoe.
Yep.
Shoe is just waiting.
Yeah.
Big shoe. Big freaking boot.
Here's the bowling ball and sledgehammer that broke the camel's back.
So that'll do it for our recap. On to the next section, which is questions for the new reader, where myself and Melissa try to come up with questions for Luke or the group, and I got nothing.
Me neither. Moving on.
Moving on. All right, questions from the new reader. Looks like Luke actually has something.
I have a thing this time.
Wait.
I've tried here and there, but it's I feel like we haven't gone anywhere. It's been the same 4 hours for like literally a calendar year for us. That's
I know.
almost not an exaggeration.
I just want to say, when we started the show, I was the same age as the characters. They've lived one day. I'm 40. So
So there's a line in, I believe it's the last section here in the Barrens, where it says, when they reached the bottom, Bill checked automatically for Silver and then laughed at himself. Silver was leaning against the wall of Mike's garage. It seemed Silver had no part to play in this at all, although that was strange after the way it had turned up. It is absolutely going to play a part. Don't you even think so, Bill? I don't have a question. Silver is going to be involved at some point in the upcoming sections. No doubt in my mind.
They're going into the sewers. The bike is not there.
Yeah, the bike's at Mike's.
Is it?
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
Whatever.
And we're going to move on to our favorite things of this chapter. Luke, go ahead with your favorite thing.
Come back to me. I don't know yet.
I had to punch mine in too just recently. I'll go with mine, and it was the graveyard shift DJ, Georgie Denbrough. That line, just the punniness of it and the impact it had afterwards with Georgie's speech to Bill, it set Bill on the path of trying to break him. Like it pushed him over the ledge, or pushed him towards the ledge, and then Audra's purse, or finding the later stuff, put him fully over. So, Melissa, what's your
Audra's purse.
Yeah.
And it starts with let's attack the friends and let's get the wife. And then let's bring in the dead brother. And then let's show that the wife all at Bill. That's the target right now. And that moment of Audra's purse of just, it was so much Audra that fell out. That's where it gets.
I'm going to have 2 real quick honorable mentions because these were just really cool scenes. The combination of sections 1 and 2 with the implanted memories, just a cool concept. That was really, really neat. Richie getting it done on the phone. That was a really cool scene where he called the hospital and got that information. I'm going to give it to Ben, though. I liked his little, right as they were getting ready to go, his sentimentality of, you guys are... It's that last chance. They're not in a good spot, and he took the opportunity he had to let them know that he cares about them. So good on him.
Nice. So that'll do it for this episode. You can find us on social media at Floats Down Here. You can send us a digital balloon at floatsdownhere@gmail.com. Make sure you check out the podcastthat.com for all of our shows, where you can also hit our support us page and go to Audible. We're an Audible affiliate. You can get a free book. And to help enjoy one of our other podcasts, the podcast that must not be named, which was a previous stream on tonight's recording, you can actually get the first book, Sorcerer's Stone, for free from a link. So you can do that, or any of the other Harry Potters, or Harry Potter universe if you're into that kind of stuff. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes.
This show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. Learn more about our reward tiers at patreon.com/Stay
Imaginary. Alrighty. Thank you guys in the chat for hanging out with us on this bonus Floats Down Here stream after a Harry Potter chat. So we will...
Yes. Thank you guys. Have a good night.